What is going on, YouTube world? I'm your brother Reza. This is Krtlyfe with the Y. Like, subscribe, comment, and all those things. And I just spent 3 days with a 2023 Toyota Tacoma, and it ended up being a case of don't meet your heroes. Coming up next. All right, so spoiler alert. As y'all saw in the intro, don't meet your heroes. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to go into why. As a lot of y'all know, I'm a huge Toyota fan. I have 200 series Land Cruisers, and part of me has always wanted a Tacoma for years. I'm talking about going back 10 years. I've always wanted a Tacoma. So I'm out of town on a work trip, and one just happened to be at the rental place. And I was like, oh, wow, this thing caught my eye because it has almost the same wheels, not same wheels, but same color wheels as my 100 series Land Cruiser in Atlanta. So I figured, let me give this thing a go. So with that backstory and letting y'all know that I am a Toyota fanboy, let's jump into this and let me just express my thoughts on living with this thing for a few days. And we're gonna work from the front of the truck all the way across to the back. So starting with the front of the truck, seeing over this part right here, this whole hood, that's a problem that we're gonna talk about more when we get inside of the truck. The headlights, this is the base model. This is a 2023 SR5, I believe, that has a TSS trim, something I never heard about. Never seen that before in Atlanta, but apparently that's a thing in some markets. The headlights on this thing are the old school, well, it has the, I forget what they call it, at the top of my head. Is really early in the morning here, so my brain's not working. Projector type beam, but it's not a LED, it's not anything fancy, so you have a regular color output, regular brightness. I wasn't used to that, having LEDs in my 100 series Land Cruiser, so that was a bit of a shocker to me that such a new car has such ancient lighting technology in it. We got to talk about what's under this hood right now. The engine, and for lack of better words, the transmission that's kind of, under, but whatever. I've watched so many videos on these things where guys were like, yeah, I'm gonna re-gear it. The first thing I'm gonna do with my Taco is re-gear it as soon as I get it. And I never really understood and got that until driving this thing through the mountains and around town for the last few days. It literally felt like the transmission was broken, and it was constantly shifting gears all over the place. The engine was whining, going, and I was like, to the point where I was like, okay, is the transmission broken on this car? Is something wrong with it? So I looked at the mileage. It only has 17,000 miles on it, and I literally thought that something was wrong with this truck because of the way that the transmission and engine don't really work together that good with the whole weight of the vehicle. So I can imagine once you put a tent, camping gear and all that other kind of stuff, I thought guys were just re-gearing these things just to, do something to their truck. But I think that is absolutely necessary after driving this thing around. And I don't know how they feel after they've been re-geared, but yeah, I can't believe that Toyota actually sells this thing like this personally. I know this review is going to sound kind of rough, but I'm just being honest. Okay, so that's that. Engine and transmission. Whew, I hope the new generation Tacoma is better. These wheels, don't really care for the actual rim itself. Obviously, I like the color, but these tires, this Nito Terra Grappler, is actually really pretty quiet on the road. I drove it on some trails yesterday out here in Colorado, and never lost grip, never had any issue with the wheels. Braking, I did lock up one of the wheels going on a deep descent. It was a 6-degree downward area outside of Denver. And yeah, I locked up the front wheels and the ABS kicked on. So that was kind of sketchy. Other than that, I kind of like the wheels. And I think the wheels are the reason why I rented this vehicle. So going further back from the wheels, let's talk about these things. Like, oh man, these step-up bars, I forget what they call them. They're not rock sliders, obviously. They're not going to do anything to protect you from rocks. But these things I find very annoying. I hate when cars have them. And the way that they're positioned on this car, they rub across your clothes and make your clothes dirty. So they're not really doing much for stepping up, and they're not really doing much to protect the vehicle. They're just there. They're ugly, and I don't like them. All right, so now we can finally go inside of this vehicle, and I can talk to y'all about my thoughts going on the inside of this thing. So this is the base model TSS off-road, whatever that means. And it is very, very Spartan in here, as you can see. the seat was really hurting my back when I initially picked it up from the rental place, but I realized that this right here can adjust the lower back support, so that made it way better. But it's still not the best seating position in the world because the seat cannot raise up significantly. So for me, being a shorter person, when I'm sitting behind this thing, this is literally what it feels like. I feel like a child driving my dad's car, and I can't see where the front of my car is. And I guess if you're a taller person, this is not a problem, but for a person that's my height, this is a massive problem. And even when I close the door here, I still feel like I'm sitting down inside of the car instead of sitting like, you know, driving height like this, so I can see over the hood and everything. Like I said, the interior is very, very Spartan. This radio is ancient, or the infotainment system, sat nav system, whatever you call it, ancient. It took me, I'm embarrassed to say this, but it took me like 15 minutes to figure out that this thing doesn't have wireless Apple CarPlay. So I had to plug an old school cable in, and I was so lucky that I even packed my old school cable because I do wireless charging for everything nowadays. And my 100 Series Land Cruiser is wired CarPlay, but for whatever reason, I thought a 2023 car would have wireless CarPlay, and I was shocked to find out that it didn't. Other than that, this thing right here, this sport mode shifter, almost useless except when you're going down really steep grades like I was doing yesterday. And the rest of it, it looks really nice on the inside for a very, very base model car, but it is very, very basic. Going to the back seat, this back seat right here, yeah. I didn't really sit back here, but one of the things that I did notice going from a 100 Series into a Taco is that I can't cover my stuff up. So me being on a business trip and having my luggage with me, I kind of felt really, you know, like skeptical about leaving this car parked places with my luggage. So everywhere I was getting out, I was taking my luggage with me because there's no way to cover it or conceal or lock or hide your luggage. So I really, really did not like that. And this is what the rear door card looks like. Very basic trim. And that's the back seat on the Taco. Nothing really interesting to see there. This bed. So one of the reasons why I gravitated towards renting this specific vehicle, well, because I always wanted to drive one to see what it would be like, because I always wanted one. I always wanted to buy one. But also, I'm here for work, like I said, and just in case I had to pick up equipment and move it across town, I was like, this would be perfect. So I got this specifically because I have a massive piece of equipment that I had to work with while I'm out here in Colorado. And yeah, that's one of the other reasons why I got this, but I never got to use the bed. But I like that the bed illuminates and stuff, and I never even took the tailgate down. But plenty of room, pick up stuff here. And I feel like this is the main selling point of this vehicle. Like, if you don't need this bed area, I cannot justify telling a person to buy this car versus everything else on the market. I mean, you can get a 100 Series Land Cruiser, you can get a GX 470. There's so many more. I know those aren't pickups, those are SUVs, but they are so much more refined and so much more comfortable. The seats are better, the driving position is better. I mean, there's just so much. And I know I'm comparing a base model Tacoma to you know, the higher end things that Toyota has to offer, but I mean, why not spend $7,000 on a 100 Series Land Cruiser that can do everything that this can do minus having a bed, versus spending, I mean, whatever they want for these, which I'm sure is over 20 grand. I just don't, yeah, unless you need this bed, and this is a short bed, so I mean, like, people argue that the short bed is not as usable as the long bed. I mean, the look is amazing. I still love the way these things look. I'm still a huge fan of the Toyota Tacoma, but man, I just can't wrap my head around actually buying one of these. And then that it is a pickup, it drives like a pickup, so it bounces around when you go over the curbs, and like the rear end is really stiff and the front is really soft, and it just does this whole like old school 6'4" bouncing up and down thing as you go up over speed bumps and on the trails. And I'm just not used to that. Maybe if I had this truck for a year, 3 months, 4 months, maybe I could get used to all these, like, I guess, quirks. But driving this thing around for less than a week, I just couldn't do it to myself. Like, And I instantly got into this car. I thought to myself, there is no way I could buy this and drive it. And parking it was a whole nother thing out here, because the parking lots, for whatever reason, are super, super tight here. And this is a, you know, a mid-sized pickup, but still I found it very like cumbersome to park. And is there anything else I want to talk about the back? Oh, TSS off-road. Let's talk about TSS off-road. So I did some Google research the other night to figure out what in the world that even means. And apparently it is a package that dealers put on the vehicle when it gets to the dealership. And essentially it's an appearance package. They put wheels and tires on it. I think they tint the windows. They put those stupid step bars on it. And no hate if you, or no shade if you are into step bars, but they're just not my thing. And yeah, so it's just an appearance package where they just bolt on a couple of things and they charge you more money for it. And apparently they gouge people for these like bolt-on parts that you could easily do yourself with a little bit of research. So what have I learned about the Toyota Tacoma after driving this thing properly around the city and on trails and on the highway? I learned that I am not the Tacoma person that I thought I was. I am way more of a Land Cruiser person, and there's no right or wrong to it. But I know that for my lifestyle and my preferences, this truck would not work. And that is really satisfying for me, because this is something that I have wanted for so long. And now that I've driven one, now I don't want one at all. And I can erase that off my list of things that I want to do in life. So hopefully the brand new Tacoma powertrain and everything about the brand new Tacoma is a lot better than this model that's going out. But man, like, let me know in the comments what y'all think. Am I off base? Am I just a Tacoma hater now because I used to be a Tacoma fanboy? Let me know what y'all think. Am I on point with my assessment? Am I just hating? I don't know. Personally, I just feel like I could never properly live with this vehicle, and I'm gonna leave it at that. So I'm your brother Resident. Oh, let me do this. This is Krtlyfe with the Y. Like, subscribe, comma. 2023 outgoing model Toyota Tacoma. I really wanted to love it. You all don't even understand how bad I wanted to love this vehicle. But I'm an honest person, and I just cannot love this thing in this form factor. Maybe with a bigger, stronger engine. 500 horsepower all day. The way that it is, yeah, I can't do it. All right, y'all. I'll see you on the next video. Peace. Sorry for this video being all over the place and like not as good quality as normal, but I did this on the run.